Hey guys, this is Gwen here from Olive and Oak, and if you are watching this part, you are catching the replay, so go ahead and comment replay down below. It is November 21st, which is exactly 1 year from the last time I sat actually at this table, because usually I do these from the shop, but I'm doing it from home tonight. But 1 year ago today, I sat at this table and I gave you guys a tutorial on our very first subscription box project, and so kind of getting to do it on the anniversary is really cool in my book. We were a few minutes late, we had family dinner, and that went a little later than planned, but here we are. So I'm going to show you the project and then we're going to walk through it step by step and get this thing together. You might hear some crazy growling in the background because my dogs are a little bit wild, but we are going to make a Christmas countdown. Now, of course, this is probably all going to show backwards on there, but I promise you the lettering does go the correct direction. But I'm going to show you guys, and everybody who's picked up their box, I tried to tell them it's really important to follow the tutorial. It's fine. Rainy Rue's whining in the background, not whining. Whining in the background. It's going to be really important to follow the instructions on this one to make sure it all works properly. But this one I intentionally did not follow perfectly, so I can kind of give you an idea of how important it is to follow the rules. Instructions, I'm not sure which. But once we have this all in place the way it is supposed to be, you will be able to slide from the backside your numbers to change how many days it is until Christmas. But let's get into opening our project. I'll set this one over here. You, of course, will have your project kit. So we're going to open this part up. And I was telling everybody, when you open this, it's going to look like there are a lot of hodgepodge pieces, but they all work into it. So let me flip this back over as I fling wood pieces everywhere. You can hang on to your picture on the front there for reference if you need it. If not, paint it however makes you happy. I was talking about how some people like to decorate with different colors for Christmas, and if you have other colors that you use, by all means, go for it. So I'll kind of set pieces aside as we do this. There is going to be an oval with 2 slots in it, 2 square pieces with holes in it, and then this guy, which is going to be a stand for the back if you want to use it. If you don't, though, you could leave this part off and hang this sign instead. You're going to have your lettering pieces. I'm going to scoot mine kind of out of the way here. Your greenery and bow piece, this section, your ornament base, and then there's the inner workings, and that's going to be the important part that we're kind of going to focus on for a little bit here. You will have your crazy puppy dogs, your kind of welcome letter from me. It's got your new club discount code on there, as well as we had some new members. There is a new member survey on there that you can go and take, and what it is it's just asking some questions, things, you know, we've done a couple of personalized options, and when we do the personalized stuff, I just need to know what name you want on them. But let me get this all open. Inside your bag, you're going to find your paint. I went traditional with colors, but like I said, if you have other paint colors you want to use, by all means, go for it. A brush. These sanding sponges, which are going to be incredibly important for tonight's project. You're going to find a bottle of glue, some sponges we're going to use to paint with, and then you're going to find your bonus project, which is a little home for the holidays ornament kit, and that's what this piece of jute is for. It's going to be your hanger for your ornament. But we'll set that piece aside and we're going to get started. So inside of your kit, once you take the ornament face off, you're going to have this green piece here and then a whole lot of loopy pieces here. What we're going to do is we're going to take the 2 ring pieces that have holes in them like this, and these ones we're going to paint white. I guess you could paint them a different color too, but this is going to be the part that your numbers are going to go on, so I'm going to paint these parts white so my numbers show up nice and bold. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my white paint, and I'm going to grab one of my little sponges, and I'm going to dip this into, hopefully you guys can kind of see this, dip this into my white paint, and I'm going to start dabbing all the way around this circle to fill it in with that paint. I'm trying really hard not to get much paint on the sides of my circle and focusing just on the face. If you get a little on the sides, it's not the end of the world. We're going to sand them off, but it's going to be really important to sand on this one because those moving pieces inside, once we get it assembled, need to have that bit of room to be able to slide. So I'm going to dab the whole face of this, get it all white, and if you don't get it right to the edges, it's going to be okay. Your middle edges, let me think, so it'll be the outside edge of the smaller one and the inside edge of the bigger one. Those are where you really want to focus on, but the opposite ends, if it's not perfect, it's okay because you're not going to see those once we cover them. We'll fill in here. You can swipe on this one. It's not going to hurt anything. I'm a paint dabber. Let's get this part going. Now I recommend doing this part first only so that everything else can dry while you're doing kind of the more fun parts. You will, for this project, want to grab a pair of scissors too, because there's a part we're going to cut the stencil just a little bit to make it a little easier to work with. And I know scissors are a hot commodity in our house. We've always got to hunt them down. So yeah, if you need to find yourself a pair of scissors, have at it. Last year, I think it was earlier this year, I bought a, I can't remember if it was 36 or 48 pack of scissors from Amazon. And somehow still we seem to be down to like 10 pairs, but that's okay. That's more than I can usually say. Yeah, we bought the big pack. And I will say, I didn't use that whole big pack at home. Part of them are at the shop too. So they don't all live here, but we've used them for all kinds of projects. And some of them are starting to get kind of the end of their prime season. They've been used for paper and things like that. So they're not quite so sharp anymore. So those ones will start getting tossed out and it might be time to buy another pack. Make sure this is all nice and filled in white. This one dry just a little bit and I'll see if it needs some more. I'll set that one aside and then I'm gonna start working on my bigger ring. Still, I'm just kind of pushing my sponge down into those paint pods and then filling them out. Some of you guys know I have sort of an other side to my business. I help other people who have lasers, a lot of them that have DIY businesses like I do, and offer DIY kits. I mentor, I don't know, I help them with stuff. They had a whole laugh today because a lot of us order our like paint pod supplies from the same places, and I did a class on how to host an ornament bar, which has been popular. If you haven't swung by the shop, you probably haven't seen it yet, but we do have a huge, our big table that's in the front window is full of ornaments and beads and ribbon and all the things to paint your own ornaments. And I mean, it was a tons of fun for us last year, and so I taught them kind of how to do that and give them where I buy paint pods from and everything else. And now the supplier is out of stock a whole lot. And so one of the girls was laughing earlier because they were like, I haven't buying these paint pods since 2020 and I've never seen them out of stock. This is new. What did you do? I was like, I'm sorry, guys. Please still love me. Please. Yeah. Jonathan is out with the kiddos on the trampoline with Levi. Well, now Levi's in the house. Apparently he's grabbing some of the ball pit balls to play with on there. But they're out there enjoying some of this finally cool weather we're having after a really long summer and a really icky summer where we're soaking in every bit of cool we can. This morning we took Rainey on a 3-mile walk. She went for a ride, of course, not a walk. We took her on a walk while Levi was at school, and now we're gonna go do some trampoline time. We haven't had her on it yet, so we told Levi we gotta be gentle, sister's still little. Miss Kelly, I was wondering, I know sometimes people get on here and they're crafting while they're with me, so usually they're really quiet, but sometimes Facebook doesn't show me comments, so I'm glad to see that I can see them tonight. All right, so this one's pretty well painted up. I'm gonna check on my first ring, see if it needs any touch up or extra. I think we're gonna be good. Get it just a little here and there. And if you are a strategic painter like I am, you could totally look to see what else you want to paint white and paint that white. I'm gonna work on just these guys and then come back in and do my other white in a little bit. So what I'll do once I'm ready to set this aside is I'm actually gonna snip the end of my sponge off because then I'm gonna reuse the sponge later, but you don't have to do that. All right, so your stencil piece. You'll notice that there are 2 rings here. I do not recommend trying to line them up, like both of your rings up just right. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of fold it in half, and in this white area, the white is where you're not gonna have any actual stencil. I'm gonna make a little snip, just like that, so I can get into it, and then I'm going to cut where this kind of inner loop is. So I'm going to cut around in between these two pieces to separate them out. I'll show you what that looks like. Trim, trim, trim. You hear the dogs barking, it's because the baby one, who just turned a year old this month, is bugging the older ones. We have Delilah, she's a Basset Hound, and we have Beretta and Brody, and they are, I have to think about how old they are, but they're older pups, and they are like lab mixes of some sort, and they are not her biggest fan. Sometimes Brody likes to play with her. Beretta's usually like, leave me alone. All right. So I've got this one kind of trimmed out, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to try to line these circles up with the holes in my ring. And had I thought about this all the way through, I would have made it to where these circles are perfectly centered, so it doesn't matter, but there is a little bit of a difference. So your holes are going to go to the side where they're a little bit further apart. You're going to have the side that's further apart be where the numbers are. Okay, bud, be careful. So what I'm going to do, I'm sure she's going to think it's awesome. What you're going to do is you're going to take your white, so there's 3 layers of material here. We've got a white backer, we've got a green stencil, and a clear front carrier sheet. And what that's doing is keeping the centers of your numbers in place, like the inside of your 0. So we're going to pull that piece away from the white sheet. Hey Pam, I'm glad you like it. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay this down. And you should have a little bit of working time too. If we don't get it quite where we want it to be, you should be able to peel it back up pretty easily, but kind of before you press it all the way down, sort of work it until you get those little holes kind of lined up, and then just kind of smooth it down. So I'm going to rub that part down. You do want the paint underneath it to be completely dry before you do this. I've got a fan going, so it's drying my paint really, really fast, but if you've got a thicker coat of paint, let it dry completely before you do this part. And now I'm going to pull that clear tape off the top. Some of you will have 2 pieces of tape and some will only have 1. It just kind of depended where it cut on the machine, if it needed 2 pieces of tape or not, but mine does have 2 pieces. So now I'm just working to peel it off. If your stencil should come up with your tape, all you gotta do is push it back down and kind of rub on it, and it'll go back down to where it belongs. We'll pull this piece off, and then this other side off too. Perfect. So there's that one. Now let me check my big ring, make sure it's painted, and it does, it looks good. So now I'm gonna do the same thing with my other piece. I'm going to trim some of this out. You don't have to, I just visually want it not behind me and less tape to have to play with. Now this one is a little bit trickier. Oops, I forgot to lead one of the circles. That's okay. I just wanna make sure I tell you guys the right side. Your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is going to be on the side of your circle that has a slightly smaller distance. If you kind of look at it, they're not quite perfect. Quite perfect will probably be about here-ish, but the side that's a little bit smaller is where your 6, 7, 8, 9 is gonna go, and then your 1 through 5 is gonna go on the other side. So when we pull this one up, and I will say this one was a little bit harder to lay down than the half circle, but it's doable. And if it's not 100% perfect, it's gonna be okay. Crafts are supposed to be fun. I'm gonna peel this part up, but again, I'm trying to line those circles up. I forgot to weed one of mine. That's why I saved this one for me, because I made an oops on it. Crafts are supposed to be fun. So I'm gonna get my smaller number set, or I guess higher numbers, but shorter distance. Over to that side, and this one over to this side. So I'm starting with getting my kind of holes lined up where the holes are, and then the rest of them I'm gonna smooth into place. Oops. Pull this one down a little further this way. It should end up with your green pretty well centered on the white part. You'll have a little bit of white showing on either side, but for the most part, you should be pretty well centered up there. There we go. And you saw I didn't have it perfect, so I lifted it up just a little bit before I pressed it down. It's going to give you a little bit of working time to be able to do that. Now, I personally, if I were laying a decal and actually sticking it onto something, you would use like a squeegee or even the edge of a credit card. But this, I want to come back off because I'm going to peel my stencil up when I'm done. So I'm not putting a whole lot of extra pressure on it. I just want it lightly on there. Peel all these pieces up all the way around my circle. Get the rest of this up here. There we go. All right, now we're gonna paint on our numbers. Now I chose to do black numbers because I thought it looked really classic in there. You can really paint them whatever color you want them to be, but I am gonna use the black. And again, we're gonna use a dab, 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 dab. And what I'm gonna do actually is trim. This was my white sponge that I did my circles with. I'm gonna take my scissors and just cut. These are some of the scissors that are starting to dull. Some of that sponge off. So now I've got a slightly smaller sponge to work with, which kind of helps me in this sense because it's not dripping over the sides a whole lot. And that's what I'm gonna use to paint my numbers in. Now this is the one where it is gonna be important to dab, dab, dab when you're working with a stencil. So I've got paint on there. I kind of wiped my excess off on the side of my little paint cup. And I'm just gonna pounce on top of my numbers to fill them in. I will say with stencils, it's more important to have a light, good coverage than it is to slap a bunch of paint on there really fast at once. So definitely do a couple of light coats if you need darker color versus one really, really heavy coat. Because if not, I have had it happen before where you, if you go really, really heavy, you end up with almost like a clear, I don't know what word I'm looking for here, like a seal over top of the whole stencil. And when you go to pull the stencil up, the entire number comes up with it. I should say not necessarily the number, but the letters. I haven't done this project, with the exception of my sample one, before. But yeah, definitely a couple of light coats, way better than one heavy one. What does it matter, Delilah? Nobody's playing with you. You sad girl. Yeah. Y'all were thinking about it, and Jonathan was asking when I said that I was going to come just do this one from home instead of going back up to the shop tonight. We were talking about like, okay, what extra supplies do I need to grab? Because I don't have a craft room at home anymore. All of my stuff is at the shop. And then I thought about it. The whole point is that your subscription box comes with everything. So as long as I brought home an entire kit, I should be golden. And it will be, because I got all the stuff. But yeah, we decided when we bought this house and I have, you know, the ginormous shop to be in, that I didn't need a craft room at home. Now, there are a couple of things that I want to get just to have as like a craft stash for Levi. If he wants to do stuff. We've got like crayons and things like that, but there's some extra stuff I'd like to bring home. I just got him, he's one of those, he's a box kid. He wants to play with boxes. He wants to do all the box things and turn them into forts and clubhouses. I remember seeing a long time ago, they had it's essentially a box cutter set for kids. It's not like the sharp blade. It's one of the pieces is kind of like a saw, but it has little teeny tiny teeth. And then the other one has like a rotary wheel on it that has little, it reminds me almost of like a spur wheel that's meant to help them perforate it so they could fold the cardboard instead of having to cut it. And they had them, I think he got on Amazon for like $10. So I ordered him one of those so he can up his box game, a cardboard building game rather. Right now he's got his little stash on the back porch. I think there's a diaper box out there. Of course, a small stash of Amazon boxes. And then the wood that we get when it comes on the big pallets, it comes with 2 big sheets of cardboard on top and on bottom. And so we'll start trimming those down just a little bit for him. And I think maybe next wood one, he might even be able to build himself a little house with it now. But yeah, he's in that phase of things. So it's not that we don't craft at home. It's just the majority of my craft stuff is at work. All right, so I'm gonna let that set of numbers dry. This one's just about dry. Like I said, that fan overhead changes everything. I'm gonna make sure all my numbers look good and solid. And I believe they are, maybe a little on the 5. There we go. Alrighty, so while those are drying, I'm gonna close my paint pot because if not, I will knock that over. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna peel that green part away, and I'm just using my nail. If you need something else, tweezers help with this a whole lot too. But I'm just gonna pick at it with my nail to get it started. Just pop that piece up and then get it peeled all the way off. All these little pieces out. And what you're going to be left with is going to be your number wheel. Pop that piece off. And then any of your little inner parts for a number, like the inside circles of like an 8 and a 9 and things like that, you could use your tweezers to pick those pieces out. I've also seen people use like a straight pin or a bobby pin, not a bobby pin, safety pin, any of those sorts of things. I'm just using my nail. I think I've grown accustomed to not using a little tool because half the time I'm searching forever to find one. But this is just comfortable now. So there is ring number 1. And we're gonna grab the one off our smaller ring. And ring number 2. Now, if you should have any bleeding, because I've got just a little tiny bit, I'm gonna show you. Because when you're up close to your project, you're gonna notice things a lot more than once you're finished with it. But if you look super, super, super close to my 3, I've got a little teeny tiny bleed in a couple of spots. If that bothers you, you can take a straight pin and kind of scratch at it a little bit. That's not enough to bug me though. I'm not gonna worry about it. So we're gonna leave that part alone. But now comes the part that is really, 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 really important for all of this to work together. I'm gonna grab my other 2. I should have a big circle and then a big ring. And on all of these pieces, this is where you're gonna use your sanding sponges. You'll use 1 for each one. That's why we've got 4 of them in there. Delilah, what are you doing? 1 for each of the pieces. Around the edge of each one, you're going to sand. And the reason we're doing that is we want to create that extra room in between these, because if I have just these 2 things like this, they just don't slide quite as well as they could in between each other. Right now they do, but once they're sandwiched into something, they're going to have a little bit of friction and not want to slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that sanding sponge and I'm going to sand around the edge of each of these circles. So you can kind of, maybe you can notice it in the camera, but you'll notice that I'm going from that darker brown to this lighter brown. Once you've got that light brown all the way around, you've sanded plenty off. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect. We're just trying to give it a little extra go room so that it doesn't get stuck. So what I was telling you in the beginning, how I didn't follow all of my instructions on my first one, is I did not sand all the pieces. I did a really, really light sand in a couple of spots to see how important this was, and it is pretty important. It will work a little bit, but it's going to be frustrating, so why frustrate yourself? Let's just do it right. I know it takes a little extra second. We're doing kind of real woodworking at this point. Keep working on this part all the way around. And I'm not saying you need to get all the way down to bare wood. I just realized this is gonna make my camera shake for a minute. Sorry guys. You don't need to get all the way down to bare wood. We're just taking some of that outer layer off so that it's got a nice smooth edge all the way around. Now you could use grittier sandpaper. I try not to get too crazy with it, but I've got a really smooth all the way around that piece. With my big ring, I only need to do the inside of it because the outside is going to be the outside of my thing and there's nothing moving out there. So we're just going to work on the inside of that one. And I didn't even switch sanding pieces. I'm still using the one I used for my small ring for this one, but it's starting to get a little less grabby. So we'll use this one up till there's really nothing left on it and then switch over to the other one. We just want to make sure we make it so that everything can slide easy without giving it too much gap to where it's not sitting in the same spot. kind of a fine line. Switch to this one. Good, so nice and smooth all the way around. A little spot here. There you go, that's better. All right, so those two are done. Now, with the ones that you painted, these ones are super important because if you got any paint, because sometimes when you dab, you end up with a little paint on the side. We're gonna wanna make sure all of that is gone because if not, it's not gonna slide real well. And on these, we wanna do the inside and the outside. So I'm gonna give it a sand on the outside of my ring and the inside because now it's got two moving pieces that need to be able to slide beside each other. But yeah, the most important part on these ones is to make sure any of the paint that got on the side is gone because though it seems like very little paint, any little extra on there is just enough to cause your sliders to kind of get hung up on each other. So there's my outside, now we're gonna do my inside. I'm sorry the camera's shaking, guys. I apologize for that part. This part all sanded in. Switch to the other side of my sponge. I went back and forth on if this was going to be a good project or not because it has this step, but you guys are crafty, you know. These little sponges are super handy. They're actually, I'll be completely honest with you guys, they are nail buffers, but they're nice to do little distressing techniques on stuff too. They're just enough to give you some bite without getting too crazy. So I did my big ring, set that one in there, and now I'm going to do my small ring. I think I'm ready to switch to a new sponge. Again, I'm going to do my outside. Excuse me. No cry making, Brody. He's probably saying it's his dinner time too. Clear it out. And now I'll do my inside and then we are done sanding. Promise that's the end of this part. And I'll show you what my edges look like too, just to give you an idea and show you that you don't have to get everything off, but smoothing them out helps a whole lot. Something you can do too if you want super, super buttery smooth, if you have a bar of soap or even a candle stick, like one of the tall candles that you're not worried about because it's probably going to ruin them a little bit, you can kind of rub your soap around it too, or your candle piece around the inside and outside after sanding it, and then it's going to give you almost like a, I don't know, almost like a smoothing technique. I'm not going to do that, but you definitely can if you want a little extra. All right, so we've got all of our rings sanded on the, oh, I was gonna show you guys what they kind of look like from the side. You can kind of see I've got a little bit of dark brown here and there, but for the most part I went primarily to the lighter color, but it does not have to be 100% off. So those are gonna be my ring pieces, which right now feel like they are really smooth, except for somewhere there, there's one little spot that's catching up. And that's one thing you can do too, is lay it down on a table and do this number, and you'll kind of get a feel for how smooth it is. This one, when I hold that middle part, something's catching right there, so that tells me I should sand a little bit more. Delilah, you're getting crazy. And I can kind of see it. There's like a little hang up right here in the wood. So I'm gonna sand right there just a little more. Delilah, you being crazy girl. She's like, I know. All right, so we're gonna try this again. Put this one here, hold that middle part. Oh yeah, we're good now. Everything's sliding. So my whole, when I was laying this part out, I was thinking kind of like a rotary phone in terms of how to set this thing up. So initially I tried putting a hole in between every single number. If you guys have met her already, Orion is our shop employee. She was there while I was doing it. I was like, okay, let's turn it a little bit on the screen and another hole here, and turn a little on the screen, and it wasn't fitting. We're going back and forth. And finally I was like, I don't need a hole in every single spot. Two holes. Two holes is gonna cover the whole thing, and that's all we needed. All right, so we are gonna glue this part together, and then we are going to work on the fun part, the decorative piece of it. What I recommend doing is start with your outside ring, because your outside ring is going to shape up perfectly to your very back layer. So this is, for reference, your very back layer. And these little slots that are in here are where you're gonna be able to reach the loops in the rings to be able to change your numbers. But what I'm gonna recommend is take your little glue bottle, get this thing cracked open, and we're gonna put just a little bit of glue around the ring. I will say this one is gonna be very, very, very important to only glue the two areas that need to be glued, and make sure no glue seeps out from underneath them, because if not, it could get stuck to your middle rings, and of course we don't want that to happen, because if those guys are glued in place and they're stationary, they're not gonna spin. All right, so I've got my glue in here. I got a little close on this edge, so I'm gonna swipe a little bit of it out. But I've got my glue. If you kind of look real close on the camera, you can see some of it. I've got it just in the center of my ring, not real close to the inside part of my ring, and that's gonna hold just fine. This is like, we use Type Bond wood glue, so it's really nice, strong wood glue that is not going to, not gonna give in your decorative decor piece. So we're gonna line this guy up. We're gonna try to get all of our rings, just our edges, real nice and lined up, because that's gonna be kind of the important part to start this all. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of, and it's important to work kind of on a protected surface of some sort. Even you should put some paper down. I just have craft paper on our dinner table. But I've got this piece all laid down, so I was able to kind of roll it and make sure that all of my edges are flush to the outside. I'm gonna push this down, make sure it sets. And then I'm gonna look, if I have any glue that kind of seeped out along this crack, we're gonna let that dry completely before we do the next step. I did get a little bit. I'm gonna use the back end of my paintbrush to kind of thin it out a little. Excuse me. And I might even use some of my paper here. I'm gonna fold it in half and kind of scrape some of it out while it's still wet. Get it to smooth out some. But we're not gonna put our other pieces in until that is completely dry, because we don't want anything sticking our pieces together. So I'm gonna give that just a second, and I'll get some of my other pieces kind of organized. Loretta Lynn, Delilah, leave her alone. She doesn't wanna play with you. So the big piece, well, we're gonna come back to that in a second, because that's gonna be super important too. Don't let the glue get your other pieces stuck. Our big piece here, I'll kind of walk you through it. We'll have our main ornament section here, and these letters you can paint right over the top. I'll do it in just a moment, but we're gonna paint right over these, and you'll still be able to see them. Mine, the score got a little funky, so I'm gonna have to do some extra coverage, but it's gonna be okay. You'll have these top kind of frilly pieces that are sticking out. What that's for is for your greenery piece to line up to and give it some extra support. So when it comes time, we'll put those into place, but we'll paint our ornament red all the way up to this line right here, and then we'll do gray on top of it. It's gonna be kind of our ornament topper piece. Loretta Lynn, she sounds so grouchy. But these parts will go on to here. We'll have our cute little bow piece that's gonna layer on there, and then we've got some little berries to put next to our bow, and then of course our lettering. All right, this should be dry. We should be ready to complete this. So what we're gonna do next, we're not adding glue on this step. We're gonna put our big ring in place. We're gonna put our small ring in place. And then this part here that says glue area, we're gonna put some glue in there. We're not gonna go outside of that line. We're just gonna put glue within the circle that says glue area. And you don't need a lot. I just did dots around it. You kind of see that all my dots are inside that ring. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that middle puck and it's gonna go right there on top. So we're gonna press that guy down in there, and we're trying to keep everything pretty well spaced in there. We're gonna put that piece in there, and then these pieces are going to dry while we are painting our top piece. So right now, everything, these two should still absolutely be spinning freely, but we're ready to set this part aside, and we're gonna get to the fun part while those things are drying. Now we get to paint, guys, like paint for real. Alrighty, so like I said, I like the classic red ornament. We are doing, I don't know if you can see them back here, we are doing kind of a baking red and green themed Christmas this year, so that's what I'm working with. I am going to sponge paint my base piece in the red, and then I will use the brush when I get up close to this part that I don't want to be red anymore. So I've got red on here, and I'm just gonna start bouncing. Now again, it's up to you. If you want to do more of a swipe, you definitely can, or if you prefer to use the brush for this part, you can. I will tell you too, if you get red on these top leaf pieces, it's okay. We're going to cover them with the 3D leaf, so don't stress about those. But I'm gonna get this part all nice and filled in. But yeah, like I said, we're doing a like a baking Christmas. I don't want to say gingerbread Christmas because it's not just gingerbread. I am more into the whole baking theme, so I'm gonna have like whisks and mixing bowls. I just found some at Walmart actually. They're like little mini mixing bowls that have like their Christmas colors, and they're meant to be like serving dishes, or not serving dishes, like saving, like leftover savings, little bowls that have lids and stuff. But they remind me kind of like for people who collect this, like the fancy Pyrex, they remind me a little bit of those kinds of bowls. They don't have decorations on them, but I'm probably gonna fix that. Like none of the cool prints, but I think I'm gonna stack some of them up here with this stuff, or somewhere with my Christmassy things. Now keep in mind, I don't bake, I don't cook. That's not my seat on the bus, and that is okay. Fortunately, Jonathan does cook, but I like the look of it. It's very cute. I even went as far today to looking on Etsy for people who do, if you've ever seen them, the fake bakes. They are meant to look like baked goods, but they're, you know, made out of other stuff. Or people also would do like they call them mug toppers. They are like faux whipped cream, and they go like on top of like a cute coffee mug or whatever to make it look like there's, you know, a drink inside of them. But they have all that kind of stuff. And so I was looking at those today. I haven't ordered any because most of them don't arrive until after Christmas. I kind of waited till the last minute, but I went looking. Mom. Yes, Levi.
It's spoilers and Dad won't let me jump high and do flip.
Well, it's because sister's on the trampoline, Bubba, and she's little.
But it's not fair.
It is fair. When you were little, we had to be careful on a trampoline too. And our friends had to be careful because they couldn't hurt you. That wouldn't be nice, huh? Do you not want to play on the trampoline anymore? No. Hey, sorry, bud.
Can I get my cardboard box for it?
I need to get your stuff out for it. Oh, I don't remember where it is right now. It's a little brown box. Like the size of a book, but it might be over here now somewhere.
When's the last time you played?
I don't know. That's why I'm saying it's here somewhere. He's bored because sister's on the trampoline, so he can't jump and do flips.
Oh, is it like one of these?
That small one right there in the front. Yeah. Bring it here.
The one under it?
Nope. The small, nope. Right in front of you. Hanging off this, no, down. Right there. That one.
This one?
Yes.
Oh. Oh.
Bring it here.
Can I open it?
You can try to. Can you get it open? You need some scissors? I've got some right there. Just be very careful. Mom life. Hi, Miss Norma. We're multitasking today. That's why sometimes I love this too, don't get me wrong, but sometimes if you're looking for some quality craft time, coming into the shop is helpful too. You got it, bud? Okay, maybe don't attack the whole box. Just take the plastic off. filled in. And my first coat is not going to be perfect. My second coat is going to be the pretty one.
I'm really talking to
All the people who are painting one of these projects too. You want to say hi?
Yeah.
You gotta come over here.
Hi.
Hey, 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 you're gonna knock the table over, bud.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, now I'm gonna tell you how to use them.
I think I know what I'm using.
You do?
Yeah.
You wanna take him outside? Go ahead and turn on the back light. He's got his cardboard stuff. You turn on the back light for him?
I don't know how to get it.
Well, take him outside, Bubba. That's where your cardboard is.
I'm trying to get this up.
I know, but you can take it out there.
I'm gonna open it. Yeah, I think I need the scissors.
No, hey, 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 you're not, hey, let me see that part. You're not using my good scissors on cardboard. My semi-good scissors. Negative, sir. Because you opened it funny, Goofy.
I mean, I'll
Please
get
hold.
this one. So I think you do this. I'm assuming if I know how to use that.
I'll tell you real quick. So this one, it's for perforation and making bends. So what you'll do is you'll go like this, and it makes it so that the cardboard can.
Oh,
Okay.
actually, I need that. Got it.
Delilah, go outside. We might go back to doing these at the shop, guys. Oh, goodness. Got a hair on my project.
Not sharp enough.
They're not supposed to be super sharp. You gotta use it like a saw. They're not sharp. They are plenty sharp. We just gotta use them the right way. I'm not handing you a sharp tool. No, the other day he tried taking my scissors outside to cut cardboard, and I was like, no. No, I don't think so, friend. All right, so I've got my rough coat on there. I'm gonna let that one dry, and it is very much a rough coat. I'm gonna start working on the other parts, and then I'm gonna come back, and then I'll use my brush to really give it a nice, clean look to it. So I'm gonna close up my red for right now. Oh, you know what? I take it back. I am gonna put my rough coat on this little guy real quick, because I'll probably do the same with my brush, make it nice and clean. I'm going to trim this down just a little bit because my end's starting to get a little funky. So I'll dip this into here. And pounce, 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 pounce on this. Now on my bow, I am going a little lighter with how much paint I'm putting on there because of those little, you'll notice there's little marks that kind of show you where like the middle of the bow is. And I want those to show through. Now, if you end up painting into those, that is totally okay. It's not the end of the world. You can take your straight pin that you were using to help weed your number pieces with. You can drag it kind of down in there. Even a toothpick will work. Drag those kind of down in there and it's going to help pull that paint back out. Just a little trick. A little bit more red on this side. And for some people, it won't even bother them if there is paint down there. I get a little bit in mine most of the time, and I don't stress too much about it. It still works out just the same. There we go. There's my little red soap. I'll set that aside. I think this time I actually might use my gray for my little berries. I did red last time, and they just didn't pop quite as much. I think I'm going to do gray on them. But I'm gonna hop in here and start doing some of my other pieces while I'm waiting for that red part to dry. Beretta, leave Delilah alone. She's a puppy. So I'm gonna use my green on my little leaf pieces And I will say too, you will have some white left over, you'll have a little bit of all your colors left over, and if you really want to get into all the highlighting and detailing, you definitely can with your paintbrush. This part all painted in. You wanna come say hi, sister? Brother got to say hi. They're out the trampoline, but it's finally cold enough. They're coming inside now. Oh, come back here. All my leaves filled in. Hi, crazy one. I know you. Since Levi went to where we wanted for dinner, he still has to pick dessert. I'm just saying.
You want red?
Festive is all filled in. I will say this too, I forgot to mention, on this part, if you get green into the bow part, it's okay still, because we are going to cover it with the red bow. Or whatever color you paint your bow. This all filled in. There we go. There we go. All right. That's how I want that part. Now it's going to be real quiet at my house except for the dogs because Jonathan's trying really hard to keep the kids quiet. And I told him, I was like, this is part of us though. We have little ones. It's not a secret. And I'm sure most of you guys are moms anyway. So it's fine. Hi, Miss Debbie. I'll say most of you guys are moms. So you totally get it anyway. But I can tell he's getting, like, he feels bad trying to keep him quiet. So we did promise Levi earlier that he could pick what we were having for dessert because he didn't get to pick dinner and he was a little bummed. So I think they're going to go for a ride. Odds are they're going to get Dairy Queen right now. And that's okay. I don't need to go for that ride. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Same as with on the bow where there's the little lines that are on the leaves, if you need to take kind of a sharp pointy tool into those pieces and peel out those lines, you definitely can. Some of mine have paint in it. It's totally okay. All right, so let's go back to my big piece. I'm going to take my brush and paint in my red area a little more. And then we'll do our lettering and we will work on finishing assembly. And then the top of this too, of course. Now this part, that's what I forgot to grab, was a cup of water. Give me just a second, I'll be right back. But I'm gonna get a little cup of water. That way my paint spreads a little nicer. It'll have a little more give to it. Where's a little time? That'll work. I knew I'd forgotten something. I always do. But a little cup of water is going to give my paint a little more movement to it. So I've got just a little bit on there. I'm going to dip it in my paint. It's going to be a little more fluidity. Paint this here. Beretta Lynn. And the other thing I'll say too, when you get to this part, if you're going to paint with the brush, is I kind of sort of paint rather than just straight back and forth. I try to kind of sort of paint. Delilah, go lay down. Oh, they're having a night. I kind of am trying to paint sort of in a round sort of motion, like looping it around my ornament instead of just straight across. It doesn't make a huge difference, but I feel like I notice it. So I'm just trying to smooth that out. Hi, Miss Rachel. Get some more of this on here. You just missed the crazy. Kids are in here. Rainey was saying hi, and Jonathan's trying to keep them calm and quiet, so we sent them out to go get snacks instead. But we'll do this. And again, if you want to get really fancy with your painting, you could add a little bit of white in with this part as you're going around the circle, and it's going to give you a little bit of highlights, a little bit of low lights, that sort of thing. You take a little bit of the black in with part of it to help smooth it around. But again, this does not have to be perfect. You do not have to be a fancy artist to do this stuff. It's meant to be fun. Down to this side. The part where I feel like I start to do funny stuff is right here where that hole is. It just, everything slides down into it and it loses the brush a little, but it's okay. This stuff's supposed to be fun. Paint over into this area. And I am 100% a fan of flipping my project around to paint from different angles. So if you need to move your stuff around while you're painting, by all means, have at it. Oh, I know, they're huge. It's ridiculous. Levi will be 7 in January. Rainy, of course, is a year already. It's just crazy. I swear he was just a baby, and now she's barely a baby. I am excited though. So when, like, I know baby girls in dresses are adorable, but I feel like when they're little, it's almost more of a fight to try to keep their dress in place. Like before they're walking and really standing on their own. And of course now she's up and very, very mobile. So I'm finally getting into that, you know, dresses are fun to put on her phase. Because they, for the most part, stay where they're supposed to now. But Rainy so far is not a bow girl. She does not like her hair done. I can get her to let me comb it for a minute. That's about it. But I think I got her to wear a bow one time and I got super excited because we got the, you know, the little crazy ponytail in the top center of her head. And I was super excited about it. I was like, yes, it's time. So I ordered some more clip-on bows because she hated the headband bows too. I'd get her to wear it for about 10 minutes and then she was over it. But I was super excited thinking, all right, officially it's time, we can do this. I ordered a bunch of clip-on bows that were super cute, every color of the rainbow, and she wants nothing to do with them. I was like, dang it, baby girl. This is the thing that like moms who don't have girls dream of, moms that do have girls, you know, this is their rite of passage and you want nothing to do with it. All right, I am going to add just a little tiny bit. So I've still got my red on my brush. I'm gonna get a little bit of water, a little bit more red, and then I'm gonna scoop a little bit of white out of the lid of my white cup because odds are I'm gonna leave a little bit of red behind, and I did. And now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna work kind of in the swirls, but I'm gonna concentrate primarily on this top area right here and this right here. If it ends up being too much white, you just add more red. But again, you're gonna want your brush to be kind of wet when you do this, if you're wanting to add kind of those highlights. It works out to be too much, it's okay. We add a little bit more red back into it and nobody has to know. And I did get a little more than I wanted, so I'm gonna add a little bit more red, a little bit more water, and just kind of start working it. Like I said, I'm trying to paint sort of in a circle motion here versus a real heavy straight line. And all I'm doing is kind of working inward towards my thing until I'm kind of running out of paint. I'm trying to do it upside down so you guys can see what I'm doing. But some of this I gotta look at it too. So if you can kind of look, it's probably wet right now, it's a little harder to see, but you can kind of see where it's lighter up in here. I'm gonna do the same thing on this bottom corner just a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna do the same, sorry, I forgot to say that. I'm gonna do the same thing on the bottom corner just a little bit, but I'm gonna use a black paint. Goodness, I might want to mention that, huh? Switching colors so that it's kind of highlight and then this is the shadow. I can get my black open again. So again, I've got red still on my brush. Red. A little bit of black out of my lid. And the black, you really only need just a tiny bit to make a difference. Scoop some of it out of there. And I'm starting on kind of my outside edge here and I'm work my way in. Red. And this one, I'm not going to go quite as far with it. I'm going to kind of keep it really concentrated to just this bottom corner. Still trying to work kind of in a curve and kind of let it naturally taper off towards the bottom. That was more than what I wanted, so I'm going to get more water on my brush, more red just like I did at the top. Kind of work the red back into it. If this makes you nervous, you don't have to do it. I didn't on my first one, but I knew I'd wanted to show you guys how to do it if you wanted to. Now I'm gonna rinse a lot of the other stuff out and go with just red on my brush with water and do it one more time over top of all of it. One thing I will say is if you want to go out on a limb here and try this and then decide you don't like it, let it dry. Paint covers paint really, really well. So if you decide it's not for you, that is a-okay. Just let it dry and then paint right over top of it. Get some red. This is the part where I get real quiet and concentrating. Sorry, guys. So I'm just going back in with red to kind of blend it all together. And more red. And more red. And then we'll be right back up to about where my light part starts. And then I will stop with this part and we will finish up our lettering and our top section. All right, I'm gonna let that dry for a few minutes. I'll rinse some of this out because we're going to use that brush again in a couple minutes. Dry. Alright, so set that aside. I'm going to close up my black and my red, and I'm going to do, I like the white lettering on it, so I'm going to do white lettering on this one as well. I just think it really pops with that red background. One thing I will say is when you're getting your lettering together, make sure we flip them to where the face is facing up, because I have made the mistake and painted the wrong side before, coming here from experience. But I'm gonna cut a little bit more off of my sponge just because I want a little less space on there. You don't have to. I'm gonna dip this in my white, scrape some of it off the edge, and then I'm gonna pounce, pounce, pounce on the top of my letters. This is a lot less messy way of painting your letters than gouging tons and tons and tons of paint on there. I am not someone who paints the sides of my letters, so I do try to focus on keeping the paint just on the face. If some gets down on the sides, I'm not worried about it either. But I try not to get too much down there. Get this all filled in. Go. And again, this is kind of like with our stencil. You'd rather do a couple of light coats than one really, really heavy one. The upside with this is that it dries really fast, so and you can kind of go right back in and create that second coat while the first one is drying for the most part. I can go right back over where it's still a little bit wet and just dab some extra. Let's get our other letters on there. Get these guys filled in there. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about too. I know I think most of the people that are on here either are in our subscription box or at least know what it is. If you happen to be hopping on going, I can't find this project on your website, it's because you won't find it on there. So what this is, in case you're new, usually I do this introduction at the beginning and I kind of forgot. If you are new or not sure what is going on, every other month we send out a subscription box right to your door, or you can pick it up at the shop if you're local. And what it is it's a special project that is only available to subscription box members for at least a year. I haven't released the one from last year yet, and it might stay that way. I haven't decided yet. But usually they have some sort of special element or special something, and you get them sent to you, and it's every other month. Every month just seemed like a lot to me. But every other month you get the project, all the supplies you need, the special stuff, if there's special stuff with it, and then I hop on here with you guys and go live making the thing. And a lot of times I will show kind of alternative ways to paint something, but I really like the red ornament, so I went with the red ornament. I did paint it a little different than my original one. But I'll hop on here with you guys. We'll paint together. We'll hang out. Some of the other perks, though, is subscription box members also get 10% their other project or workshop offers, orders, not offers. Excuse me. They get 10% off other workshops with us or kits. So if once a month is not enough crafting for you and you need more, you can get more and at a discount. You also, sometimes I send out early emails. Like today, our subscription box members got an early email for our Crafternoon. This is our second annual one. We host it the Sunday after Thanksgiving in the studio. We do a whole breakfast. We wear PJs. We paint a couple projects together. There's cocoa and coffee and Christmas pajamas and all the good stuff. And so they got early access to grab tickets for that. And kind of our special things like that. I want to do even more with the club in the next year. Now that we're a year in, this is officially our 1-year anniversary of our subscription box. But if you are interested in something like that, you can get on our wait list. I do have the link in the description of this video, and then I think there's a comment with it as well, that you can sign up and get a notification. Since we had a box go out in November, our next one will go out in January. So we still got a little bit before our next one. I did have last year, I don't know if Carol's on here, but Miss Carol, Santa Claus rather, gifted 2 people with subscriptions to the club. And if that is something, if there's somebody that you're trying to find a cool gift for and you think that's right up their alley, message me. I can get you set up to where you can decide if you want to get them 1 month, a couple of months of it. Excuse me. And since our next subscription box won't go out till January, what I do is I send you a little something you can give them, or we can send it directly to them too. Last year we did, it was like an ornament. So we send out what our bonus was to them, just telling like, hey, a cool gift is coming your way very soon. And here's some details about it and that sort of thing. So that's an option for you too. All right, so my letters are painted. I'm gonna set them aside. I have my little berries to paint, which I'm gonna do in the gray. Should I do something different this time? I did red last time. I think we'll do the gray this time. I'm gonna snip my last sponge just a hair. And then we're almost ready to assemble. Get a little bit of that gray on there. These will be really cute. I am not a big glitter person, mostly because Jonathan is not a glitter person at all. So I try to, if there's anything I try to follow along with, it's that. Although we did break out glitter in the studio for the first time ever when we had our Miss Yuma County delegates and Miss Yuma County in for a special workshop. I couldn't help it. They were doing crowns and we needed glitter for the crown. So we did bring that out for that. But these little berries would be super cute with glitter. However, I will not be the bad person who sends glitter to your home if you are not a glitter person. So that's totally on you guys, and your husbands cannot get mad at me. But that's neither here nor there. Alrighty. Oh, that's the other part I gotta do. I gotta do the top part of our ornament. So this part I'm going to do with my gray sponge, and then if I need to, I can grab my paintbrush and kind of ease into a little bit more on it. But for right now, I'm just gonna try to see how close I can get to that line. If I had some painter's tape handy, which I know I don't because Levi's a paint stealer, or not a paint stealer, a tape stealer, I could also just put a piece of painter's tape across there to really help define this line, but I think we're gonna be okay. I've already decided that Levi will be getting a large pack of tape somewhere in a Christmas gift as like a gag gift, because that is his number one thing to steal from me is any kind of tape. He uses it for so many things too, along with his cardboard box building. He uses it to create tow ropes for his monster trucks and everything in between. So it'll be one of the ones that he's gonna look at me. I know he's gonna roll his eyes, but it's okay. I don't care. I'm giving him some tape, and then I can't tell him, no, you can't take all my tape, because that will be his tape. Maybe I'll even be borrowing some for him. I put another quick coat of red on my bow. And then we're gonna start doing assembly. piece on here. It just needed a little bit more pop. Now, like I said, if you wanted to get real fancy, you could go back in and kind of use the same white highlighting trick that I did on the ornament itself. You could add some highlights to your bow, to all kinds of different pieces, but I'm gonna call it on this one for right now. All right, paint is out of the way, so I know I don't end up with any of that on my hands or dumped over. So I'm gonna start with my big greenery piece. I'm gonna put some glue on the back of that. And I clogged my glue because I left it open, huh? Shame on Gwen. Here we go. Let's get this piece together. I'm not covering every single leaf with glue, mostly my outside ones, and then a little bit on the inner bow part. Like I said, we're using Titebond wood glue, just in a little itty bitty container, and it is gonna hold really well. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna line my pieces up with that background part that is painted very red, because that's where I got out of the lines, and it is okay because we're going to cover them. Align those pieces right in there. And we're going to put our little bow right on top of there. Oh, that's what I forgot. Some of the bows, I will tell you, there's kind of a twofer on this. Some of the bows have holes cut out here, and some of them have scored. I don't know which one I prefer, but I wanted them to all be the same, and I didn't realize until most of them were cut that they were not exactly the same. And they both work the same way. If you have one that has cutouts, you will want your bow to be painted in such a way that what's cut out and showing behind it is the color you want it to be. Mine happens to be one of the cutouts. I think maybe I like the score one, but it's still gonna work the same either way. Or if you really wanted to, I guess you could put a real bow on here too. And just a little more red. This just a little. There we go. Crisis averted. All right, so we're gonna put a little bit of glue on the back of our bow. Put this piece in place. And again, it's gonna line up with the bow that's right underneath it. And then we're gonna add our little berries. Now the berries, there is definitely a left and a right berry, and there's kind of, you'll kind of feel it when you're lining them up. There's like a little notch point in the bow that the curves of the berry fit into perfectly. And even if you don't get them exactly in that notch, they're gonna be okay. But there is kind of a little, sort of a little perfect curve that they set into. And if you look real close, you'll kind of notice there's a little like indent on the bow, right where the bottom of the stem of the berries goes. That one down. So now we'll do our lettering, and then we get to put it all together. This last part, when we go to glue it to the background part where our spinning wheels are, that one's going to be really important to not get glued towards the middle too. So I'll show you how I do that. But that's going to be kind of the last possible, I don't want to say trap. What's the word I'm looking for? The last possible spot you can make kind of a oops if you're not paying attention. Christmas on there. And when I held it up, hopefully you guys could see that. I can absolutely still see my score lines from where my lettering should line up really, really easily. Did you guys finally give up being mean to each other, puppies? We're gonna be good now? Everybody's laying down on your beds. Is coming in. little bit of glue. And I will tell you too, I mention this every single time. If some of your glue squeezes out from underneath your letters, do not stress about that. It is going to dry completely clear. It takes about 20 minutes for it to go opaque, but it's going to go completely clear and you will never see it again. So don't stress. You don't need very much glue. I do recommend using just little tiny amounts. But if you do squeeze some out, it's going to be a-okay. One in place. And then I will show you guys what to do with the backer if you want to, as soon as we get the other piece on. There you go. If you look real close, you'll be able to see that I've got some glue that's sneaking out in a couple of spots, and it's going to be okay. It's going to go away. All right, so now we're going to talk about assembling to the rest of this. There is no top, bottom, right, wrong, anything like that for this part. I mean, there's kind of a C that was the top and bottom, but it really does not matter as long as you've got it all in place. When we glue this part, this one is even more important to only get the glue around that very, very outside brown ring that is still raw wood and not get it on top of here because you're not going to be able to see it as easily. So we're really going to focus on putting glue, maybe instead of completely centered on there, put it a little further towards the outside. Because then we're going to put our ornament top on it and we really need to make sure that it's not going to stick. So again, I'm not putting a real thick bead of glue. I'm definitely working into staying towards the outside of this ring. And I'm almost dragging my bottle tip on it so that it's kind of knocking that glue down so it's not a real thick, I don't want to say strand, but trail of glue, I guess. Trail is the word. And I'm going to set my other piece right on top. And again, all of my outside edges should be flush to the outside of those two circles so I can stand it up if I need to and kind of roll it a little bit to make sure it's lined up where it should be. And then I'm going to hold it in place here and I'm going to just push for a second. The upside with the wood glue is it gives you some wiggle room, and the downside with the wood glue is it gives you some wiggle room. It doesn't set up immediately, so we're going to hold it down here and make sure that whole outside is getting nice and stuck on. If you wanted to, I should have said this too, if you wanted to, you could add glue into that middle wooden part too. I'm not going to. I don't want any chances of accidental oopses. So I'm just going to hold this here for a moment. Make sure it sets down real nice. If you happen to have not clothespins, but like clamps and you want to give it some extra hold, you can put clamps on it too. But otherwise, that should be good to go. All right, now we're gonna let this part dry just a little more before I try to fidget with it and end up messing it up. Because that would be something I would do. All right, on the back, I'm gonna show you guys how to put the stand. If you want to hang it and have it hang just like this and not have a stand, you don't have to put this on here. If you put this on here, it will make it a little difficult to hang. But what you will do is you're going to start with this oval piece, and you're going to want to make sure when you're looking at your project, it's kind of straight up and down with you. And the easiest way to do that is to look where that top ring is. This oval piece, we're going to put glue on the back of it. There's not a back or a front. Either side is the same, just so you know. We're going to put glue on one side of it. Got some dots on there. And I'm going to make this to where this curve sits real close to that very inside curve. I'll show you what that looks like in just a sec. This part in place. So I've got it kind of like that on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue into each one of those lines that are cut out from it. I'm not filling them completely. I'm just putting a little line of glue on either side. And this is the part where we got to do this just right, otherwise it's not going to go back together. We take this piece, we take our two rectangles that have the holes in them, and we're going to put the holes in to the two outsides on that. So I have this kind of weird looking this thing, and I have my flat side. So there's a curved side and a flat side. The ones that are flat with the 90-degree angle on the edge are going to go down into those two holes. So you'll kind of hold on to them and work them into those two little holes. Make sure they push down nice and flat. That way they grab into that glue, and then let that dry for just a minute, and then you're gonna have a nice little easel back on your project. Let that part part dry for just a second before I put any weight on him. But otherwise you should have something that kind of looks like this here, and that's gonna work as your easel. But as long as I didn't get too crazy with my glue, these little numbers, I'm gonna put my finger into this back part and we think it's 20, let me think, 25, 30 days has September, April, June, November. So there's 30 days this month and we're on the 21st, so there's 9. So 25 and 9 is 34 days till Christmas. I believe it's 34. So I'm gonna put my finger in this little tab on the back, slide my numbers around until I get to my 3. There they are. I got my finger on the wrong one. 30, and then I'm gonna slide this outer ring. There's my other hole. Down to my 4, a little further. Get them lined up just right. Come on. I keep going past it. This only happens when you're on camera because you get nervous. But there are 34 days till Christmas. And again, here's my little stand. It's not completely dry, but for the most part, it is prepped and ready to hang up there. So now I can put this up on my little Christmas shelf and be all ready to roll. This one was my original. It's really hard to see the lighting in here, but this one is the one that I did the shading on. This one I just did these little squiggles, and I can show you guys real quick on the paper how I did those too, if you want to see. So all I did to do those little squiggles is I took my brush real nice and flat, open this up, and hopefully I can kind of see on the paper down here. I got paint on the edge of my brush, and if this were my, I don't have any other kind of pen to write with. Oh, yes I do. There's a marker. Of course I got yellow. You're not gonna be able to see that. Oh, sun. Ah, black. So if this, I'm on the struggle bus here. If this were my not so perfect circle ornament, I pick one of the curve edges and I'm taking my brush so that it's flat this way. I'm gonna kind of go along this curve like this and make my first line. Get a little bit more paint on there because it's starting to dry. And then right inside of there, I kind of go back and forth along that, just like that. And then I go back over it if it needs more paint. The biggest trick though is that instead of using your brush flat like this and wiping, you're using it kind of long ways. So you're just making your curve line and then some squigglies back and forth. Same on the other side. I'm gonna flatten my brush out real good. Curved line along with it and then squigglies back and forth. And when you're doing it, you kind of make your squigglies get smaller so it sort of tapers off. I know that's not a perfect representation, but that's the best way I can kind of explain it. But there's tons of different ways you can finish this. If you are a glitter gal and want to go all out with glitter, I would love to see your project. I just don't want the glitter in my house. If you choose to paint it a different color, by all means, I think a black and gold, if you're into like more of the classy Christmas decor, I think black and gold could be so pretty on this. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this project. As for your ornament kit, this is one that you can use these paints to finish up, paint it to look like your house however you want to. If you've never done one of our pop-out kits and have questions, I can send you a little step-by-step for it. But essentially what I do is I paint it inside of these wood pieces, then apply a little bit of pressure. It's gonna pop the pieces out and then you assemble. But hopefully you guys enjoy this project. I think it's gonna be such a fun one that you can keep. And it's got a little interactive piece. If you've got little ones, they're gonna like counting down the days and having something that mom had at home forever or grandma had at home. So I just want to share that with you guys. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season. We are making all of our Christmas plans. We're taking the kids to the North Pole experience in December. I can say that because they're not here. We're doing that. We've got some Christmas parties coming up and we're excited for the season. But we are still open. We'll be open in the shop until the 19th. The 19th, I believe. Maybe the 18th of December. I will double check because I know now I'm messing it up. But I'll get all that stuff posted for you guys too. But thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I'm going to tell Jonathan he can bring the kids home now, and we'll be talking soon. Bye, guys.